friends, welcome to the Lucy Chronicles. Today's video is going to be my September wrap-up. So it's beautiful here in Minnesota and I decided to try filming on the deck today. I think that my neighbors are out over here, so I'm feeling a little bit insecure, but it is what it is. We're gonna try. We'll see how this video goes. But essentially today I'm going to be talking about all the books I read for the Back to Hogwarts readathon that happened the entire month of September. I read 8 books, 10 if you count the 2 DNFs. It was such a blast, you guys, to be a co-host, and I'm so thankful to Cheryl. I feel like her and I have really become good friends. She's just such a sweetheart, and I love her heart for the Lord. I love her testimony. She has such a beautiful testimony, coming to faith, coming to Jesus moment, and it was an honor to be involved in this read. Anyway, okay, so the first book that I DNF'd is Anna and the French Kiss. This is a YA contemporary secular romance, and this follows a girl named Anna whose dad sends her to boarding school in Paris, not because she's a bad girl or she needs to be like whipped into shape or anything. He wants her to just experience it, I guess. Essentially, Anna gets to France. She doesn't speak a lick of French. She doesn't know anything about the Parisian culture. She doesn't have any friends over there. And so she's a little bit angry and a little bit like resentful to her dad for doing this to her on her senior year of high school. But she gets over there and she meets this dude, of course, right? And he is swoony. His name is Etienne. And he is tall, dark, and handsome. He has a British/English accent. Anyway, Anna falls very hard. And this was gonna be a reread for me because I read it in my I want to say it was like at least a decade ago that I read it, and I wasn't living as convicted of a life when I read it, and I remember just loving it. And like the first half of the book was totally clean. There was a very mild language and no smut at all. Like it was very, like there were subtle innuendos, but it wasn't anything that was like making me uncomfortable. Okay, then we get to like the halfway point and Anna and Etienne start making out, and it just took a turn for the worse. The F-bomb just started exploding everywhere at the halfway point, and the makeout scenes started to get a little bit too detailed for my comfort level, and there's the cheating trope in this book. And the more I thought about it, the more I do remember there is an open door scene in this book towards the very end. And so I had to DNF it, you guys. I just couldn't. I just felt very convicted. I felt very like just that wasn't something the Lord wanted me reading. And so it was going to be for the boarding school prompt, which was the Sorcerer's Stone prompt or Philosopher's Stone. This is the other book that I have DNF'd. This is called 14 Ways to Die, and I don't know if this is a hard DNF for me. Like there are some F-bombs in here, but it wasn't as apparent as it was in Anna and the French Kiss, like where it was like literally every other page. It's just, they're kind of sprinkled. So this might be more of a soft DNF. I'm gonna talk to Jamie over at the Kansan Reader because I believe she said she's read this, so I might just reach out to her and find out more in detail what, like, if there are any smut scenes specifically, because if the F-bomb is like really apparent throughout the whole book, then I'm not going to probably continue to read it. But if it's only like a few times, I don't know. I'm going to reach out to her. She kind of knows like what I can handle and what I can't, so I'm going to, because I know she's read it. And if she thinks I shouldn't finish, then I'm just going to have her spoil it for me and tell me how it ends, because I need to know. This is also young adult. It's also secular. And it's also contemporary, but this follows a girl named Jess whose mom was murdered by a serial killer. She's the first of 13 victims of the serial killer that they've nicknamed the Magpie Man, and she decides to go onto this YouTube reality show for kids who've experienced some pretty outstanding things. And her reason for doing it is to attempt to draw out this murderer and get clues and basically bring justice to her mom. So the beginning little blurb here, I'm just going to read, it says, you have to murder at least 3 people to be called a serial killer. The Magpie Man is looking for his 14th victim. Yeah, so that's the other one, and it has a number on the cover. So this was for the Half-Blood Prince prompt, which is to read a book with a number on the cover. So, okay, let's go to the bingo board. So the first book in the Harry Potter series is the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And so for that, we needed to read a book about a boarding school or about found family. And so for that one, I read Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Isn't this edition just stunning, y'all? Look at the spine, too. I think it's just so pretty. So this was my first time reading Anne. It was not my first experience with Anne. I grew up with her. I grew up on the Megan Fallows miniseries, and I love it. Like, I've seen many adaptations on the stage and on the screen, and I'm sorry, but the Megan Fallows adaptation is bar none the best one. Megan plays the best Anne, hands down. In fact, I'm really kind of itching to watch that miniseries again. I'm gonna have to get my hands on it, but this was my first time reading L.M. Montgomery, and can I just say, 5 stars. This was like the easiest 5 stars I've given in a really long time. Her writing is so whimsical and lovely, and I'm pining for more of her writing. And so I am very, very pleased to say that this has met the hype. Anne of Avonlea, the second book, is on the docket for October, so I can't wait to break into that. But yes, the book is so much better. Even better than the Megan Fallows miniseries, in my opinion. I just think that her writing and storytelling ability brings her character to life so much more. And it's just, there's so many things in here that aren't even in the miniseries, and it's just like, oh, I don't know, it's just lovely. And 5 stars, easy 5 stars. Okay, the second prompt on the bingo board is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. For that one, we need to read a book that either has secret in the title or a secret in the plot. And so for that one, I read It Would Not Be a Lucy wrap-up if there was not a rom-com in here. Lucky in Love by Casey West. This edition, this is so cute. Look at that. This is how I should display it, really. Can you guys see this right here? Like, it's just so pretty. So pretty. So, Casey West has been a long-time favorite contemporary rom-com author. Her stories are so wholesome. There's no swearing at all in her books. She doesn't even write OMG in here. There's no smut. Like, it is very, very clean. I would let my 10-year-old daughter read this if I had a 10-year-old daughter. Like, that's how clean it is. I ended at about a 3.5 stars with this. I rounded up to 4. I gave it some grace just because it's Casey West. This wasn't my favorite of hers that I've read. I would have to say P.S. I Like You is still probably my favorite. In this book, we follow Maddie, and she is a planner. She is a straight-A student. She is Ivy League bound, and like, she is not impulsive whatsoever. Very sensible. And her 18th birthday does not go as she planned. None of her friends show up. And so she went to a convenience store, and she was originally going to buy a pint of ice cream and sit and watch Pride and Prejudice and be depressed. Instead of that, she ends up buying a lottery ticket, and she wins. So overnight, she becomes a multimillionaire and everyone's best friend. But in the meantime, she meets this guy, Seth, who is a co-worker at the zoo that she works at. And he is adorable. I love Seth. I will say, Casey West's female protagonists, usually annoy me in some way, shape, or form. And the thing that kind of annoys me about Maddie is that she chooses to keep her winnings a secret from Mr. Saphir. And I don't particularly love that. I don't like dishonesty. I don't like lying. I don't like any kind of deceit. Casey West did it in a way that was very believable and very innocent. The third square on the bingo board was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. No. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So for this one, we need to read a book with an animal on the cover. And for this one, I read Insta Boyfriend. Put a picture here. This was the only book on Kindle Unlimited that I read last month, and I loved it. You guys, this was so cute. It's very cheesy. I will tell you that right now. So in this story, we follow Iris, who is a photographer, and she has agreed to do the pictures for her terrible cousin's wedding. Like, she is a terrible, terrible lady. Like, she's the epitome of a female that I cannot stand. Like, she is catty, she's petty, she's over the top, materialistic, like, greedy. And come to find that her cousin is actually getting married to Iris's ex-fiance. She meets this dude named Dean. He's this, like, super famous YouTuber who, like, goes on all these wild, crazy adventures. And Iris and Dean knew each other back in high school. Dean remembers Iris, but Iris does not remember Dean. And so Dean kind of keeps his, like, high school identity a secret from her, but he agrees to be her fake boyfriend so that she has a +1 to this wedding, so that she can make her ex-fiance think that she's moved on. So it's the fake dating trope, which is one of my favorites. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. It's absolutely adorable. I think the second book is about her best friend and her brother, but I could be wrong. Anyway, we're just gonna move on because apparently I don't know how to talk or how to explain books. So yes, Insta Boyfriend has the cute little dog, and the dog actually plays a pretty significant role in the plot of this story, an integral role. So okay, let's move on. So the fourth Harry Potter book is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And so for this one, we need to read a book that has a competition or that has school spirit. I went with a selection by Kiera Cass. This is dystopian. This is about a bunch of girls vying for a prince's heart. And I was very nervous to read this book because it's so hyped, and I just don't really love this type of a storyline where it's like a bunch of girls trying to fight for a dude's affections. And think of The Bachelor on TV. That's really kind of what the story is. This prince needs to find a wife, and so he randomly draws all these names from the air, literally, and has them come to the palace to compete for his heart. And the thing about this world is that it's split into castes, and so, like, the castes are numbered 1 through like 10 or something like that, and like the higher the number, the lower you are in the caste system. So like 10s are considered like below poverty, whereas like 1s are the elite. And he draws names from all of the different castes. It's not just the elite that get to compete in this competition. And America Singer is our protagonist here, our female protagonist. And she doesn't even want to be there. Like, she doesn't want anything to do with this competition. But she goes to try to help her family and to try to help her secret love, who is a caste below her. Anyway, I feel like I've said too much. I'm not going to say any more. This book really surprised me. I really enjoyed this. This was also a 4-star for me. It's probably closer to a 4.5. I was actually pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this. And I'm definitely going to be continuing with the series. So, yay, Kiera Cass. Good job. Good job. Okay. Book number 5 is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. So, for this one, we need to read a book with a secret society or an uprising. So for this one, I read Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is a reread for me. I started the Lunar Chronicles several years ago. I read the first book, I read Scarlet, and I started the third book, Cress. That was a really long time ago, and so I was like, I have to start over. And I'm glad I did, because there were a lot of things I didn't remember in this story. But if you don't know, the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer are sci-fi fairy tale retellings. So Cinder is a retelling of Cinderella. Scarlet, which is the second book, is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. Cress, which is the third book, is a retelling of Rapunzel. And Winter, which is the fourth book, I believe is a retelling of Snow White. And I was really hesitant about these books because sci-fi fairy tale retellings just aren't my favorite things. And I was like, there's no way this could work. Also, it's a hyped book. Even in Secular Booktube, which is what I was kind of following back when I read these initially, I was the unpopular opinion. I was like, everyone loves these, I'm gonna hate them. Actually, it works for me. I don't know why. There's this awful lunar queen. There is this terrible virus that is killing people. There's this swoony prince who actually is pretty amazing. Normally I don't like the prince character, but in this series I actually really like the prince. And it's really good. This was 5 stars, and I remember loving it the first time I read it, but I think I like it even more because it's stood the test of time. Because this is another one that I read like 10 years ago, and I was worried that there was going to be something in here that I didn't like, and I was going to have to unhaul it, and yada yada yada. But I am happy to say 5 stars. It's so good. I reserve the right to retract the 5 stars if I read a book in this series that is better, because I think I'm giving it 5 for nostalgic reasons more than anything. It is very, very good, but the writing is a little simplistic and a little elementary, so we will see once I get to Cress and Winter, because they're a little bit chunkier, and I will report back. But as of right now, it is a 5 star. I wouldn't give it anything lower than a 4 star, even if I retract to 5, because it's so good, and I do really like it. So, there's something in my coffee. Something in my coffee. Okay, 6th book in the Harry Potter series is The Half-Blood Prince. And so for that one, we need to read a book with a number in the title or that has a battle. And so I was like, what more perfect book to read for that prompt than The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? We have both. This hits both prompts because there's a number right here on the spine, and Cheryl said this totally counts, and there is a battle in this book. This was a 5 stars. I don't think anyone's shocked. C.S. Lewis is very quickly becoming a favorite author of all time. I just love his writing. He is a little tougher for me. I do have to take my time, especially, I'm still reading Screwtape Letters, y'all. I'm still putzing my way through. I'm literally like reading 2 pages a day because my brain cannot absorb more than that. Like, there's so much in that book. But like with this, I've just been kind of reading them as stories, and it's really kind of funny because Steve has also been reading these. He just finished The Magician's Nephew. He read that with Micah, and he caught on to some allegory that I completely bypassed and missed, and I was shook. He's like, what'd you think of this? What'd you think of that? And I was like, I didn't even grasp that. But I haven't really been looking for the allegory, if I'm being completely honest. I've just been reading these as stories because it's my first time reading them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through this series as stories. I'm just going to take them at face value, read them for what they're worth for stories. Then I'm going to go back and reread them and look for the allegory and like take more notes and like just be more mindful of those things, because guarantee I'm missing it. I'm missing it all. I'm not catching on to anything aside from Aslan representing Jesus and the Snow Witch representing, is it sin or the devil? See, I don't even know what she represents. I'm really not grasping the allegory, and that's because I'm not really looking for it. I just love it. and I can't not give it 5 stars. And if you don't know what the Chronicles of Narnia is, I don't really know what to tell you. I'm just gonna leave that one alone. I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna bow out of that. Go over to Morgan's channel at Morgan's Endless Bookshelf. I'll link her down below. She like has a whole playlist on her channel about the allegory in the Narnia books. So, and this is her favorite series of all time, and like she just raves and raves and raves about it. And so yeah, Morgan is your girl to go to if you want more information on the Narnia series. She's got a Narnia readathon coming up in November, so I'm very excited, and I'm definitely planning to participate in that one. So you guys, do you see the gray hair? Do you see it? I was hoping they would go away. I saw my first one when I was like 32, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening already. Okay, the 7th book in the Harry Potter series, the final book in the Harry Potter series, is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So for this one, we need to read a book with a quest or a journey. And so for this prompt, I read Wishtress by Nadine Brandes. I'm going to put a picture here because I've already given this book away. This book was only 2 stars for me, y'all. I gave it a little grace and rounded up to 2.5, but it is 2 stars on Goodreads. I didn't really like anything about this book, if I'm being completely honest. I didn't love the writing style. I didn't really connect to any of the characters. I didn't love the ending at all. I thought the ending was a cliffhanger and abrupt, and it felt rushed, and I really don't know, guys. I'm sorry. I feel bad because Celestia loves this book. Katie over at Paperbacks and Ponytails loves this book. So many of my friends love this book. I just didn't. My buddy read it with Cheryl, and her and I ended about the same. So I'm really bummed. It was probably my biggest disappointment as far as books that I actually finished. See, and I have a hard time giving it 2 stars because 2 stars typically means I feel like I wasted my time with the book. And while that's partially true, I also am still glad I read it because it was out of my comfort zone. It was important to Celestia. Like, she wanted me to read it for our collab back in August. And also, I just feel like it's helped me identify more of what I do and I don't like in a book. And it's funny because the fantasy element of it, I actually sort of enjoyed. Like, I actually really, I kind of liked the world. And I kind of liked the magic aspect of things. Like Mirth's ability to turn her tears into wishes, and Bastian's ability to freeze time with his fingers. Like, that's not the most original. I've seen that done before, and I feel like she could have done it a little better. But I really liked the concept of the magical, fantastical world. So I didn't dislike the book because of the fantasy element, which is actually really surprising. But it's still worth a read, in my opinion. I gifted the book to Micah over at Authentic Story Making because he really wants to read it because of the controversial opinions. Like, there are some people that say that it's good and some people that say that they hated it. He just is curious as to where he would fall. So I actually gave him my copy, and I told him that I don't want it back. I said, if you don't like it, you can give it to your sisters, and if they don't like it, they can donate it or whatever to Goodwill. But yeah, so it's worth a read. In my opinion, it's worth taking the time to read because you never know. There's a chance you could love it. I just personally, it wasn't for me. Let's talk about that middle square, the one with the H and the P. So you could do one of 3 things for that center square. You could either read a Harry Potter book, you could read a book that has an H and a P in the title, or you could read a book with magic. My book hit all 3. It's a Harry Potter book. It's got H and P in the title, and it is about magic. So obviously this is 5 stars. Again, I reserve the right to retract the 5 stars because comparing this to the other Harry Potter books, I feel like this isn't as objectively good as like Order of the Phoenix, Goblet of Fire, those like kind of pivotal books. it's still really good. I'll say the same thing I said about Narnia. If you haven't read Harry Potter and you don't know what this is about, I really don't know what to tell you. We follow Harry Potter, who finds out at a very young age of 11 that he is a wizard, and he goes to a school of witchcraft and wizardry to learn what that means. And the books are basically about his journey with learning to control his magic, learning to control his gifts, and the friends and foes he meets along the way. And it is such a beautiful tale of good versus evil. There's so much amazing Christian allegory in this series. J.K. Rowling based this off of a couple different verses in the Bible. I don't remember them off the top of my head. Cheryl over at Candlewick Library, she is the Harry Potter resource to check out here in Christian BookTube. I would say Morgan is to the Chronicles of Narnia as Cheryl is to Harry Potter. It was so much fun to reread this. I buddy read it with Christy A. Cole and Elma over at Elma's Book Journey, and it was just such a good time. It was so good, and I'll definitely be continuing with this series. There you have it, guys. That is my September wrap up. The videos are very slow but steady, you guys. Definitely sprints have become a love of mine, something that just brings me so much joy, and I get tons of really good feedback from the sprints, and I think that slowly but surely those are going to be the heart of my channel here. I'm still going to continue to upload videos, but I will be honest with you, lately it's been kind of a source of stress for me. And whenever something becomes stressful, it's not fun anymore. And this channel is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be something that I love. It's supposed to be something that brings me joy. And every time I sit down to film a video, or try to edit a video, or try to upload a video, technology just really ends up frustrating me and causing me a lot of strife. Not something I'm giving up on. I don't want you guys to think that. It is my goal as we enter the new year to try to get onto a little bit more consistent schedule where I at least do one a week. But just know that it's a process. It's a process. And I really appreciate your patience. I appreciate your grace. I appreciate you just bearing with me as I try to find my place here in this community. I love you guys so much. I hope you have a blessed week, and I will see you guys very soon with another video. Bye!